We flew into Istanbul, which is the only city located on two different continents, both Europe and Asia. Our apartment was very centrally located, but at about $75 per night, it's on the higher end of what we usually like to spend. The inflation rate in Turkey has been 30 to 50% the last several years, so in general, we found things to be more expensive than we were expecting. For example, our first meal in town was this beautifully presented pottery kebab, but after converting into Turkish lira, we realized that we actually spent about $50 on this lunch for the two of us to eat. But this place was right downstairs from where we were staying, and the people were lovely, inviting us in for a free coffee or tea pretty much every time that we walked out the door. We set off to explore this beautiful, colorful city and came across a square with these two beautiful tall obelisks in the center, the second of which was actually from Egypt and over 3,500 years old. Every country seems to have their own version of what we call a bagel, and this is theirs. It's sesame covered and it looks like it has some kind of cheese in it, and it looks really delicious. It is our first full day here in Istanbul. We arrived yesterday and it was rainy and cloudy all day, but today is a beautiful sunny day. It also happens to be Republic Day, which is a nationwide holiday here in Turkey celebrating the establishment of their republic in 1923. And as you can see, there's tons of flags up. It's a holiday, all the banks are closed. And apparently there's celebrations here all day and all night. There's fireworks and concerts. You can see they're setting up for some festivities later today. So we are out exploring and we'll see what the day brings. We made our way to lunch and tried a Turkish kebab and a Turkish pide, which is sort of like a Turkish version of a pizza. After lunch, we continued exploring the city, really enjoying all the decorations for Republic Day. And don't miss the fact that they are already starting to decorate for Christmas here. Two facts we quickly learned about Istanbul is it is very hilly and there are over 3,000 mosques in Istanbul, so you will see them everywhere. We stopped for a rest and Troy had a coffee. But since pretty much nobody in Turkey has heard of decaffeinated coffee, I tried this delicious hibiscus tea. This is one of the attractions in Istanbul. It's a palace. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name, but I'll write it below. And we came by to take a look at the outside of the grounds. It's over $40 to get inside.
Yeah, almost 50 bucks.
Yeah, a little steep for us. So we decided to skip the inside of it, but the outside is very beautiful and is very popular. There are lots and lots of people here. So if you can afford it, it's probably lovely, but we are going to save our dollars for some other things. In general, we found many of the entrance fees to the attractions to be pretty expensive. In contrast, many of the mosques are free and you can tour them at no cost at all. And for example, a boat ride that we took a little later was only about $10–12 US per person. So a bit of a contrast as far as the expense of things go. In most of the populated areas, you'll find carts like these selling roasted corn and roasted chestnuts. So of course we had to try some chestnuts. As we walked along the pedestrian walkway near the river, we looked up and noticed there were literally hundreds of people fishing up above. Enjoyed a beautiful sunset as we walked along this very busy waterway on the Bosphorus River. We caught some of the mosques beautifully lit up for the evening as we made our way back home.
It is tour day in Istanbul. We're going to do a walking tour this morning for a few hours and check out a lot of the top sites, and let's see what we can see.
Yeah, it's a free tour, but then you tip what you feel appropriate afterwards. They recommend like $10 to $20 per person, and it's a 3-hour tour, so it should be interesting. We've had good luck with those before. We got a little more information on the obelisks that we had seen the previous day before heading over to get some more information on the mosques nearby. The Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque, so named for the blue tiles lining the inside of the mosque, are right next to one another and are two of the most famous mosques in Istanbul. Next, our guide explained to us that this is a dispensary for cat food. People can pay to feed the cats. However, the cats never eat the cat food because there are so many people willing to feed and house them. In fact, there are over 150,000 cats in the city of Istanbul, and they look like they're living a pretty darn cush lifestyle. We visited a local cafe and hookah bar before heading to the book bazaar. We walked past the university, which is actually free if your grades are good enough to get in, before heading to one last mosque that had a spectacular view. The Grand Bazaar is one of the largest covered bazaars in the entire world and houses around 4,000 shops. The bazaar is largely geared towards tourists now, so if you're looking for a rug, pottery, jewelry, or spices, you can find any manner of options in the bazaar. The Spice Bazaar is nearby, which we found to still have quite a variety of items for sale, although it definitely focused more on dried fruits, candies, and spices and teas. As I mentioned before, the sunset cruise seemed to be a really good bargain. It was 2 hours long and took you up and down the Bosphorus River. Soft drinks were included. and it was only about $10 or $12 US per person. An audio tour was included, which pointed out some of the significant sights that we saw along the way. Once the boat turned around, the focus shifted to the Asian side, and you can see some of the influence on the architecture. We were treated to a beautiful sunset and enjoyed some of the buildings coming alive as the lights came on as night set. There was a marathon going on through the center of Istanbul the next day, which made for some very busy streets, but as it turned out, luckily for us, many of the main attractions were not nearly as busy as usual. Tickets for this mosque were a little on the pricey side, about $30 US per person to see the inside of the mosque, and another $30 if you want to visit the museum. The mosque has a very interesting past. It's been a church, a mosque, a museum, and now back to a mosque again. The floor is still used for prayer, and visitors are limited to the second floor viewing area. Much of the Christian symbolism was covered over at one point. However, now much of it is being restored, and it is so interesting to see it coexisting in this mosque. The Blue Mosque is free to enter. There are feet washing stations located outside, as there are with most mosques, and as with all mosques, you have to take your shoes off to enter. Any depiction of a human is forbidden inside of a mosque, as it's believed that it encourages worshiping of an idol. Instead, most of the mosques are either simply decorated inside or sometimes more elaborately decorated with beautiful patterns and tiles, such as this one, which has a heavily blue-influenced tile work, resulting in the name the Blue Mosque. The Basilica Cistern is also called the Sunken Palace, and you can really see why. It was originally built in 532 AD as a water storage tank, but now it's mainly a tourist attraction and has even been used in some movies, like in the James Bond movie From Russia with Love. This was another attraction in Istanbul that we felt was pretty expensive at about $35 US per person, but in the end we opted to go as it was a pretty unique experience. There were several nods to Medusa throughout the cistern, which only made for a more unique and mysterious experience. We set off to find some free sights and explore some of the cute neighborhoods around Istanbul. We walked over to the Gülhane Tower, which is at the end of a very busy touristy street. You can pay to go up into the tower and get some spectacular views, I'm sure, but at about $36 US to go up in the tower, we opted to just look at it from down below. What we couldn't pass up, though, was this $5 fish wrap from this absolute culinary artist that we found just down the street from the Gülhane Tower.
I have a fish wrap. We were walking by this place and I'm like, oh my God, that guy's an artist. This looks like the best one I've seen. And then this other lady walked by. She said she's been here 4 days, had four fish wraps, and this is the best one. So here goes. Oh my God.
Lives up to the hype?
Yeah. Immediately, the flavors were just awesome.
We're here at the metro and we have a few minutes, so the metro it's nice, but it's definitely not the easiest one that we've ever encountered.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We picked a busy day to try to get the card, the pass, and so it was there was a line of people right behind us, and it was kind of stressful to figure out, especially when a lot of people are waiting on you.
The machine wasn't working great.
Don't recommend that, but
but overall it's pretty nice to use. You can use the pass on the trams, the buses, even the ferries, although we haven't done that yet. But sometimes the trams are not super well labeled, so it's just a little bit complex. I think once you used it a little bit more, it would get super easy. But just it's slightly more complex than some of the other ones that we've used, but also a little bit cheaper, so that part's nice. In fact, we were able to use our transit card to get to the top of this hill via cable card, so it only cost about less than $1 for this trip to the top of the mountain. There's a cemetery that covers much of the hillside, and of course there are beautiful panoramic views from everywhere you look. There's even a restaurant or two at the top where you can have a drink or something to eat and enjoy the views. It was so good. We had to come back 3 hours later for another one.
Yeah.
After our fish wrap, we spotted this place across the street that sells helva, another local Turkish treat, and we had to give it a try.
Wow. That's really good. Not ice cream.
Our last stop in Istanbul was Gülhane Park, a big, beautiful, and free green space right in the middle of Istanbul.